A search for the key to unlock student autonomy in distance learning. Student readiness is of primary concern in all distance education programs. The transactional distance, space where the work of preparing to learn online occurs, the place where a learner works through the issues of how to learn by engaging with others in a new teaching learning space, requires students to take more responsibility for the learning community formed. Dialogue, structure, and autonomy have been studied as the building blocks for interaction among learners, instructors, material, and technology in online learning. The focus of this review will be on the behaviors and characteristics that indicate autonomy in post-secondary students. McCaskill and Taylor state that although it is difficult to find a standard definition, autonomous learners take responsibility for their own learning, are motivated to learn, gain enjoyment from their learning, are open-minded, manage their time well, plan effectively, meet deadlines, are happy to work on their own, display perseverance when encountering difficulties, and are low in procrastination when it comes to their work. Many studies have been conducted in a search for specific student characteristics that correlate positively with effective study habits as they relate to student success in traditional classrooms. As online education expands rapidly, new studies are being conducted to determine if this body of research applies to the distance learning community, and if so, to what degree. Student characteristics such as disability, ethnicity, circadian preference, personality variables, and age are among those being considered. McCaskill and Taylor developed a 12-item autonomous learning scale with subscales of independence and study habits. University students are more apt to complete a brief questionnaire. Such a tool might become a standard measure of college readiness, but until then, what student traits lend themselves to good study habits? It is widely accepted that students in higher education select one of three approaches to studying: a deep approach for understanding, a surface approach to memorize in order to pass a test, or a strategic study as part of a quest to earn the highest grades. While some students show preference toward a particular approach, choices generally depend on the course content, the context, and the demands of a specific task. Vermont determined 4 mental models of learning: cooperating with fellow students and being stimulated by teachers, absorbing knowledge in order to pass examinations, constructing knowledge and taking responsibility for one's own learning, and acquiring knowledge in order to apply it in practical situations. Further, Richardson identified meaning-directed learning patterns, which included construction of knowledge and stimulation by teachers, and reproduction-directed learning patterns that included absorbing knowledge to pass tests and cooperating with other students. Jelfs and Richardson surveyed equal numbers of disabled and non-disabled students at the Open University, United Kingdom. Students' beliefs that their courses were of high academic quality positively related to their use of effective study habits, but the impact of disability on both those beliefs and subsequent study habits was relatively small. Specifically, 3 groups of disabled students: those with dyslexia or other specific learning difficulties, those with mental health difficulties, and those with fatigue, exhibited less desirable approaches to studying. Richardson concluded that there is a strong relationship between students' conceptions of learning and their approaches to studying, and variations in conceptions of learning in different ethnic groups give rise to variations in approaches to studying. He tried to determine if these approaches predicted student success at the Open University, United Kingdom. Even when an ethnicity was accounted for, white students enrolled in the distance courses were more likely to exhibit a meaning-directed learning pattern and adopt a deep approach to studying than Black or Asian students. A previous study in which evening preference was shown to significantly increase the risk of poor school achievement was contradicted by Jovanovski and Basili. Those with a preference for eveningness were more likely to view lectures online than to participate in traditional courses, but circadian preference was not found to be associated with course performance. Procrastination would seem to be more of a behavior than a personality variable. After all, up to 70% of university students consider themselves to be procrastinators, and 50% procrastinate consistently and problematically. However, neuroticism and its related traits of fear of failure, perfectionism, handicapping, and depression, extroversion, excitement seeking, and impulsivity correlate positively with procrastination. Distance learners with opportunities to learn anytime and anywhere may treat the learning environment of a distance university as an invitation to procrastinate. Procrastination did contribute to the number of times students used learning strategies. However, the level of procrastination did not predict grades. Young online learners are not usually given the choice of what or where to learn. This may lead to inattentiveness or boredom. Wang and Yang employed a detection reinforcement mechanism for inattentiveness and fatigue that combined a webcam, modified facial recognition software, and a feedback window on each computer in a lab classroom of 6th grade students. This allowed a teacher to positively or negatively reinforce students whose facial movements indicated mental alertness or lack thereof. While mental fatigue decreased very little, feedback did cause some to pay closer attention. However, mental fatigue caused by physiology can only be solved by requiring students to learn at another time in a better mental state to avoid wasting time, something traditional face-to-face classes cannot offer. While this flexibility may benefit young students, it can be a detriment to older students. Adult learners drop out from online learning experiences, not necessarily due to grades, but from the failure to achieve balance among family, work, education, and other commitments. Numerous studies are devoted to the elusive cause of student success or failure in online educations. Many focus on the level of autonomy reached by a variety of student subgroups. Given that learning reluctantly is a waste of time, research is needed to determine whether some type of monitoring mechanism incorporating analysis of logon times and websites visited, keystrokes, and facial recognition of attentiveness patterns recognizing fatigue might allow distance students to better determine productive study times and thus more effectively balance work, school, and other responsibilities. Could this information, along with optional time management and organizational tools offered on university websites, allow online students, especially novice adults, to maintain higher satisfaction while allowing them the time needed to implement the highest level of learning strategies available to them? Could research using such a system demonstrate that all learners, despite labels, have potential to achieve a greater degree of autonomy?